Greetings, my peeps, and welcome to the All Things Basketball Podcast with your boy GD. In this episode, my All-Star Weekend recap. We'll go through all the major events, guys. All-Star Saturday, Rising Stars, and also the big game, of course, USA versus World. Well, in the different machinations, we'll talk about that. Also, Chris Paul officially retires. I'll give you my thoughts on that. Also, guys, I'll give you my thoughts on the Hall of Fame finalists, guys. And with that, yeah, I got something major to say. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Okay, guys, it's your boy GD back with the All Things Basketball with GD podcast. And guys, we have finished All-Star Weekend, and you got a whole lot of different camps. A lot of them saying that All-Star, the All-Star game itself was a rousing success. Also, they had different opinions on different events. So you'll get my takeaway from all that took place. So get ready for that. And then also, Chris Paul officially calls it, guys. He's retiring from the NBA. So his tumultuous season ends with him retiring. So we'll talk about him. And then also, guys, the Naismith Basketball Hall of Fame finalist list. And I'll go through the names, but I'm going to say something that's probably going to stir a hornet's nest, but I'll say it anyway. And plus, I got some sound to play with that. So with that said, let's get into it. So, guys, we had the All-Star game that took place in LA at the Intuit Dome. That's the home of the LA Clippers. And guys, it was quite a weekend. It was quite a weekend. So we will start with the Rising Stars. This is, to me, out of all the events during the weekend, this is the one I get excited for. You know why? Because these are the up and coming stars of the league. This is the future of the league, to be honest with you. So to see these young guys compete and go after it, really, if you're a basketball fan of the purest form, you enjoy this. So the Rising Stars, I don't talk much about the celebrity game. I think that's, to me, it's like the Washington Generals playing the Washington Generals. You know, it's all fluff and no substance. That's what I think, but I digress. Anyway, the Rising Stars. So here's how it works. They have a round robin where you'll have they have four sets of teams. One team will play another, then in the next round robin, another team will play someone else. So the winners of each of those games ends up in the finals. So the first game was Team Mello for Carmelo Anthony playing Team Austin for Austin Rivers. And Austin Rivers had the G League team. So Team Mello, all the stuff I watched. Team Mello looked good. They looked good from what I saw. It started off hot with Jonathan Clingden of the Portland Trail Blazers. They're big. He really showed up and showed out. He had 13 points and 2 blocks. And then to close it out, you had Reed Shepherd of the Houston Rockets sinking all three of his 3-point shots for 9 points, and thus securing the win for Team Mello over Team Austin, 40-34. And like I said, it's a round robin. The first team to 40 wins. And then in the final is the first team to 25. So, and then for Team Austin, you had Yang Hansen. He had 10 points, guys. And then Yannick Kanan Nietenhauser, another big for them, 11 points to lead the way. But Team Melo gets the win in the first game. Then we go to the second game with Team Vince, as in Vince Carter, versus Team Mac. So you have the two cousins going against each other, Tracy McGrady and Vince Carter. Well, their teams respectively. And they were making fun of Vince Carter, saying he was so nervous and whatnot. But hey, his team came out and played. So it was, these games were pretty close. But, in the end, one team pulls it out in the end. And in this go round, it was Team Vince. They win 41-36 over T-Mac. So Team Vince gets the win. VJ Edgecombe leads the way, 17 points, 5 rebounds. And then for Team T-Mac, Jalen Tyson of the Cleveland Cavaliers and VJ Edgecombe of the Sixers, Philadelphia 76ers. But Tyson, 10 points, 5 rebounds. So this sets up the championship. Team Vince Carter versus Team Melo. And boy, was this close. It came down to free throws, guys. That's how this was settled. And once again, VJ Edgecombe, he provides the impetus, sinking the free throws, finishing with 6 points to lead the way for Team Vince. And then for Team Melo, Dylan Harper, he has 8 points and 5 rebounds. So Team Vince, when all is said and done, they end up being the champions of the Rising Stars Challenge. Again, this is one of the events I enjoy. And I'll talk about that in a minute. So that's your one set of events. Moving on to All-Star Saturday Night. And you always have the 3 events there. This year, they revived the Shooting Stars competition after a 10-year absence, guys. So how it works is you're given a minute and 10 seconds to score as many points as you can. And there's 7 shooting spots at half court and, over the half court line, all around you got 3-point line, you got within that. So it's 7 spots and they're worth different point amounts. So, one with the most gets the win. So, the first round, all 4 teams go. So, this is how it broke down. You had Team All-Star with Scotty Barnes of the Toronto Raptors, Chet Holmgren of the Oklahoma City Thunder. Then you get a retired player to go with them. And that player was Richard Hamilton. And then the celebrity person who's throwing the passes, in this case, is Drewski. And here's what I'll say. I don't understand the clamor over this Drewski guy. I know he's a comedian and all that, but, maybe I'm the old man on the lawn. But, yeah, I don't understand the fervor over him, but I digress. Anyway, so Team All-Star went first. They scored 16 points. Not a lot. The passes weren't as crisp. They didn't sink as many as you thought they would. They finished with 16 points. Next is Team Cameron. As basically, these are all Duke University players. So you have Jalen Johnson of the Atlanta Hawks, Con Knipple of the Charlotte Hornets, and their retired player is Corey Maggette, which I was surprised by that. I'd said, "Oh, Grant Hill is not available," but Grant Hill, forget it. I don't think he's in fifth. All the surgeries he's had over the years. So they go with Corey Maggette. And then their celebrity passer of the ball is Anthony Anderson. It seems like he's there every year in some capacity doing something. So, and they finished with 24 points. So pretty good showing for them. So they now take the proverbial lead, if you will. And then the next team is Team Harper, consisting of Dylan Harper, Ron Harper Jr., and of course the veteran obviously is their father, Ron Harper Sr. And then their celebrity passer of the ball is 2 Chainz. So they're appealing to the young generation there with 2 Chainz. So there you go with that. So they finished with 18 points. So now Team All-Star is pretty much eliminated. Now you have one more team that has to vie for a spot in that finals. And that team is Team Knicks with Jalen Brunson, Karl Anthony Towns, and our veteran is Allen Houston. Now, Allen Houston is no stranger to the Shooting Stars contest. In fact, he won it back in 2012, playing alongside Landry Fields. So you had a current Knick, a retired Knick, and then you had a Liberty player because at that time, the Liberty were still connected with Madison Square Garden. So you had Cappy Pondexter, fantastic player for the Liberty. So those 3, they won in 2012. So now can Allen Houston bring that magic to this ball club? And their celebrity passer was none other than Jalen's father, Rick Brunson. I thought this was a brilliant move. This is a person who, first of all, he's a former player. Secondly, he's well tied in with the Knicks as an assistant coach. And I thought this was brilliant because I'm pretty sure he practiced with these guys, on a daily basis, basically. So I thought this was sheer brilliance. And you know what happened? Team Knicks go and score 31 points, thus making it to the finals to play against Team Cameron. Now, in the finals, guys, Team Cameron goes first, and they go crazy, guys. 38 points, so well over the 24 that they scored in the first round. Great score. So here comes Team Knicks with this huge burden. Now they have to outdo what they did in the first round with the 31 points. So you know what they end up doing? 47 points, guys. Crushing it to win the Shooting Stars competition. So Team Knicks gets the win in the Shooting Stars contest. So the night's off to a rousing start. Then we go to the 3-point shootout. And you have the 8 participants, and it goes in this order. Con Knipple of the Charlotte Hornets, Donovan Mitchell of the Cleveland Cavaliers, Jamal Murray of the Denver Nuggets, Norman Powell of the Miami Heat, Bobby Portis of the Milwaukee Bucks, Tyrese Maxey of the Philadelphia 76ers, Devin Booker of the Phoenix Suns, and a guy that's been out the whole entire season with the knee injury, Damian Lillard, being in the last position there. So Con Knipple starts, and he starts out with guns blazing, guys. 27 points he has. So he sets the bar, guys. So guys got to come and hope to either match that or come close to it. Next, you get a Donovan Mitchell, 24 points. Now, that's a fair score. So this puts him in the running at the moment. So you have those two guys there. Then you have Jamal Murray. Not a good showing, guys. 18 points. So yeah, that puts you really on the fence. So then next you have Norman Powell, who scores 23. That thus knocking Jamal Murray out. So now you have Knipple, Mitchell, and Powell, but with four more guys to go. Bobby Portis, I was skeptical about him being in it to begin with, just 15 points. Um, so he doesn't qualify. Next is Tyrese Maxey. I thought he's a guy who can give you a run for this money, for the money in this thing. He finished with only 17, so I was like, wow, that was kind of a surprise to me. Thus leaving two more guys left. Devin Booker, I was skeptical because he hadn't shot it all that well this season, but he comes in this competition, a competition he's been in before, and he absolutely lights it up. 30 points, guys. Thus, knocking out Norman Powell. Now you have Knipple, Mitchell, and Booker, with Dame Lillard the last one to go. Now, like I said, he hasn't played this season, so, you would think the rust is there, but that's not to be. 27 points for Dame Lillard, thus knocking out Donovan Mitchell. Now this sets up a final between Knipple, the rookie, also Devin Booker, and three-time winner Damian Lillard. So the final, with a coin toss, so Knipple goes first. He drops 17. Not a good showing at all. Definitely under what he started with, so seems like he went cold. So that's not a good number. Next is Damian Lillard, who he really heats up, guys. 29 points is what he has as a score. So thus setting the bar now for Devin Booker. Now, Devin Booker, he gets to the final rack. He has about 23 going into the final rack. So he needs to knock down all these, and then he wins. He knocks down the first two, and he misses the last three. I was like, wow. If he had made one of those last three, then he would have forced the sudden death. But he didn't make one. Wow. So, hey, listen. Damian Lillard ends up winning the 3-point shootout. So much so, Steph Curry says, man, I'm going in it next year. So, next year, you'll have a healthy Dame Lillard competing for the crown yet again. Now he's a 4-time 3-point shootout champion. So, listen, I was hard on him coming into this. I didn't understand how he was put into this contest. I thought there was guys who deserved to get in. Hey, listen, when you mess up, you fess up. And I messed up big time. Hats off to you, Dame. I mean, I could not believe what was going on with Dame. So I gotta give you your credit. I gotta give you your props. You came in there and bust these boys up. So Dame Lillard, 4-time 3-point contest champion. So there. No, 4-time. Yeah. So there you go. All right, guys. And then the last event, as always, the dunk contest. Guys, you heard what I said coming into this as far as the dunk contest goes. Not a lot of star names here. I'll give you the names. Carter Bryant, a rookie playing for the San Antonio Spurs. Then you got Chase Richardson, the son of Jason Richardson, playing for the Orlando Magic. Keyshawn Johnson of the Miami Heat, and then Jackson Hayes of the LA Lakers. You start out with Carter Bryant. He gets a 45.6. Then next is Jace Richardson, who scores a 45.4. These are modest numbers. And then Keyshawn Johnson, who comes in hot with a 47.4. Nice dunk. And he puts a little dance at the end of every dunk he does. So, yeah, it is what it is. And then Jackson Hayes. It's tough. It's tough for a tall guy to win this thing. You got to have something extra if you're a big man in these contests. And Jackson Hayes, he did the basic dunk, Then in the next round, Carter Bryant, it seems like he had the momentum, guys. He does a spectacular dunk. The judges give him 49.2 score. So, fantastic dunk from him. Then you got Chase Richardson, who an underwhelming dunk, 43.4. And then Keyshawn Johnson, he has an okay dunk, 45.4. And then Jackson Hayes improves on the dunk he made with a 47.2. So once you do the calculations, you got Carter Bryant going into the final, and then Keyshawn Johnson barely squeezing in, making the finals. So you got both of these guys. Keyshawn goes first because he had the lower score. Spectacular dunk. Thus, getting him a score of 49.6. Very good. But Carter Bryant comes back with a masterful dunk, giving him a perfect score of 50. So it's like, whoa. Seems like momentum's on his side. All he got to do for a second dunk, something basic, and he walks away with this thing. But Keyshawn Johnson raised the stakes, guys. He does a very nice dunk coming off of Carter Bryant's 50, and he gets a score of 47.8. Again, all Carter Bryant has to do, something basic, something where, it's not all these different tries and all this. Something standard, but, something that'll elevate the crowd. He couldn't do it. He was trying to do a under his leg, this and that. I was like, all you had to do was just something safe, a safe dunk, and you would have walked away with this thing. But that wasn't to be, guys. He scores a 43, thus being edged out by Keyshawn Johnson, who wins the dunk contest. So there you go. So, and again, guys are not happy. They pretty much pushed Matt McClung out. I talked about it, how they pretty much pushed him out the way as far as that goes. You know, uh, and then he's gonna put out a tape of the dunks he would have did if he was in the contest. I'm like, really? That's what we doing? You could have left that, but of course that's gonna have people saying, "Oh, look what happened if he was in the dunk contest. He would have did these dunks and he'd been a 4-time champion, this and that." I'm like, he did the right thing. He sat out this thing. Of course, people are gonna whine and complain about the dunk contest. Uh, I'll talk more about it when I do my takeaways. But hey, this is what it is, guys. It's unfortunate, but this is where we are. Uh, so much for that. I was trying to look up the judges for the dunk contest. Trying to find the judges because they were all former winners. Dwight Howard, Dominique Wilkins, Britt Barry, Corey Maggette, and Nate Robinson. Those were all the judges for the dunk contest. And it's nice. It's nice to see Nate Robinson outside. You know, he's been dealing with the kidney issues, so I believe he did get a donor, so he's he's in much better shape these days. So kudos to Nate Robinson for for his perseverance, if you will. So there you go there. So that's All Star Saturday, guys. Now to Sunday, the main event. Now, I came into this thing confused. So here's how it worked. They started off with the all all no the USA stars, and these were the young guns. Guys like Anthony Edwards, guys like Cade Cunningham, Jalen Johnson, or all the rest. Uh, and they were going against the world team, right? And each of these were 12 quarters. So you had 4 games. No, 12 minutes. I'm sorry. 1 quarter, 12 minutes, basically. So, so that was the first game. And listen, Victor Wembanyama, he made it clear. He's coming to this thing to compete. Bottom line. So a lot of people praises him for setting the tone. And listen, the Young Guns responded, led by Anthony Edwards. He said, hey, he saw Wemby said he's not playing. He scored the first 5 points. He said, hey, listen, guys, we gotta go at this thing. So you had a very competitive first game, so much so it went into overtime. And then in the overtime period, the Young Guns took over and they got the win 37-35. Leading the way is Anthony Edwards with 13 points. He drops three threes in that game. Victor Wembanyama leads all scorers with 14 points, 6 rebounds, 3 blocks. I mean, he was getting after it, man. And then Karl Anthony Towns for the world team has 10 points. Now, bear in mind, guys, you had no Giannis, you had no Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. And oh, by the way, Luka Doncic and also Nikola Jovic, both of those guys, 5 minutes they played. That was it. So bear that in mind. But the Stars get the win. So there you go. Then the second game is the USA Stripes. That's the old heads. Guys like LeBron, guys like KD, guys like Kawhi, guys like Jaylen Brown, Jalen Brunson. Those guys were on that squad. So, yeah. And then this was a close game. And I was like, wait a second. The Young Guns are going to win again? But they left too much time on the clock for the old heads. They came down, and it came down to a De'Aaron Fox game-winning 3-point shot that he was left wide open on. I couldn't understand, and the old heads get the win, guys. led by Jaylen Brown with 11 points, 3 rebounds. Yeah, they get the win. So for the other side, Anthony Edwards, of course, leads 11 points, 3 rebounds. Cade also with 11 points, 4 assists, and 3 rebounds. So far, you have the Young Guns at 1-1, World at 0-1, and Stripes 1-0. Thus setting up the old heads playing the World. And that was a close game. And it turned into Kawhi time, guys. Kawhi Leonard. Oh, by the way, they won this 48-45. Kawhi Leonard, though, he scored 31 of the 48 points. At one point in the game, he scored 15 straight points for the old heads. I mean, he was absolutely in his bag, hitting threes, all the things. Oh, by the way, he finished with 6 threes in this game, 3 rebounds, 2 steals. I mean, absolute masterclass. Woo! Victor Wembanyama still not backing down, 19 points for him. But this game, not only no Giannis, no SGA, no Luka, no Joker. So you're down 4 of your main world players in this one. And it took a Kawhi Leonard Herculean effort to get you over the finish line. So, but nonetheless, to get the win. Hey, so now the world team is eliminated. They're 0-2 now. And Stripes is 2-0. Thus setting up a rematch with the Young Guns. And I tell you what, guys, I think at this point, the old heads got to get back out there and do their thing. They just didn't have it, guys. They just didn't have it. The Young Guns ran them boys off the court. Final score, 47-21. I mean, it was an absolute romp. Tyrese Maxey, he finally got hot, guys. 9 points, 3 steals in this game. And then Anthony Edwards and Chet Holmgren both scored 8 points for the Young Guns. And then for the Stripes team, it was Donovan Mitchell. He scored 6 points, guys. But think about this. Out of Kevin Durant, Kawhi went crazy in the game before, and Jaylen Brown, all 3 of those guys combined for 2 for 18. Oh, by the way, they were 0 for 10 from 3-point range. Yeah, that's not going to get it done. So, if you want a reason why they lost, boom, there you go. 3 guys who kind of led the way in the beginning just ran out of gas, man. So, when all is said and done, the Young Guns take this tournament, if you will. And the MVP, who else but Anthony Edwards. So, very competitive. This is what the people wanted. This is what the people clamored for. They just wanted effort. That's all they wanted. So, do I think this format is here to stay? I think so. But I think you could get to a point where, and this is my hang up, guys, where you could actually do 12 USA players and 12 world players. I think you could get away with that, to be honest with you. So, and it was so much so that the world team that was short so many guys, they had to take a US player to play on their squad. Norman Powell, he ended up playing for the world team. Go figure. He's a US player. So, I don't know how that happened, but it is what it is. So, anyhow, that is your All-Star weekend, guys. Excuse me. So, yeah. So, my takeaways, I'll tell you some of my takeaways. Let us start with Adam Silver. You know, I call him now a much maligned commissioner of the NBA. You know, a lot of people take him to task. Oh, he's too soft on this and that, you know. And then there's the tanking issue. So he speaks about the tanking, and so far, just recently, they fined the Utah Jazz $500,000, so a half a mil for conduct detrimental to the league when they sat Lauri Markkanen and Jarrett Jackson Jr. in the fourth quarter of back-to-back games. Well, consecutive games. And the league saw that and said, nah, you can't do it like this. So, boom, they lowered the boom on them. And then as far as Indiana goes, they violated the player participation policy, where they had a game where they end up sitting Pascal Siakam and two of the starters when they could have played, according to a independent medical person, if you will. They said, "Hey, these guys could have played. What's Indiana doing?" So they got hit with $100,000 fine. So Adam Silver now saying, "Oh, we'll stiffen the penalties and we'll start to take draft picks." I say that's the way to go. I say when a team has an infraction, like let's say Utah, keep scaling it up. In other words, you hit them with $5K. Next time they do it, $1 million. Time after that, $2 million. And then let's start digging into these draft picks. Here's what I'll say about the draft picks. You know they're going to be in the lottery. You already know that. I say you take away because you know they do the lottery with the balls and stuff. You take away balls from them to lower their odds in that case. I think this way you properly punish them and they don't get an advantage as far as the draft picks go. Take away some of those balls that will be used when you do the lottery. So I think that's where you can hit them and hit them hard. So you got to do something about this tanking because it's out of control. It is way out of control, guys. So there's that. Then he talked about expansion. He's talking about wanting to add two more teams in the near future. More likely than not, he wants to bring a franchise back to Seattle, which I fully agree with. I definitely agree with that you need a franchise back there in Seattle. And then he's talking about Vegas. And the trepidation with Vegas is especially in light of something I'm going to talk about. But they're talking about putting a team in Vegas, guys. I think that's a direction they're going. Am I in favor of it? I understand. I get it. You have a women's team in Vegas, but I guess people are betting on them too. But I definitely feel the players are not betting. So will it be too much temptation for a NBA player to kind of place bets, especially, regarding their team? The temptation is there, guys. So I think that's a concern. But they did say they have no desire to relocate any current teams. So teams that's not doing well financially, they're stuck where they are. So it is what it is with that. So there you go. So that's that bit of business. As far as we'll stay on that same vein. Sports betting charges. You know, the charges that they were leveled against Terry Rozier, Malik Beasley, Damian Jones, and Chauncey Billups. As of now, there's no real news from on that front. You know, the FBI was involved in that probe, but there's no new news on that. So, we, you know, I guess we're in a holding pattern until they could gather up all and get their ducks in a row. So no news there. Also, no news as far as the Los Angeles Clippers. Them circumventing the salary cap by having the outside business paying Kawhi Leonard via sponsorship or something to that nature. So there's no news on that. So we don't know where that probe is going. So um, I think that's something that we'll probably hear more about in the off season, I think. And then as far as NBA Europe goes, that could get underway in a couple of years. So we're talking probably 2027-28 season. So they want to get this NBA Europe thing going. So, hey, they're trying to expand and make it global. So, you know, there's always a desire for that. And then lastly, as far as the WNBA negotiations, as far as their expired CBA, he said they're closing in on the 11th hour, which took the WNBPA. They got taken aback by that statement by him. So much so, I'm going to pull up for you what was said as far as Neka Awumake. She actually appeared on. She appeared on the new podcast with my good buddy Jamel Hill and also Carrie Champion. They have a new podcast together. So she appeared on there and they talked about that CBA negotiations. Okay, let's see. Let's see if this pulls up the clip. Okay. 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 I'm trying to find it. Where's this update from? No, that's December. No, I need the one from. Okay. What's the name of that? Something but funny. Hang on 1 second, guys. I'm gonna pull it up for you. Area champion. Let's see. Oh yes, I see it right here. Okay, so here's the clip, guys, from Neka Awumake. She was on the show. I'll give you the name of the show after you hear this sound. So Neka Awumake is the next voice you'll hear. Okay. We have been ready since day one. We have had a level of urgency, which is also why I was kind of confused by Adam's comments and we did not hear anything for 6 weeks. That, I believe, was to stir panic and to cause pressure to build, which I will say that there was frustration. There is frustration. If we were to gauge the level of urgency from the league, it appears more that there was more interest in taking advantage of negotiations rather than actually negotiating. That's where we were left with 6 weeks to just use that time to meet with individuals. Now we finally got a response back. We can get the ball rolling in a way that can give us a timely 2026 season. Do you think the current leadership that is in place really wants to take care of its players? An excellent question. I'm going to say yes to that indeed. Like I can't say it right now. So that is what the president of the Players Association had to say as far as the comments Adam Silver made. Um, I'm telling you now, guys. I said today, well, Jan- no, February 16th to me was the drop dead day. I think now you're in murky waters where a delay of the season is imminent. I think it's imminent at this point because you still have a expansion draft involving two teams. You have that, and you have free agency. So I don't think you're going to be able to get all that wrapped up in a nice bow and be ready by May when the season starts. So it's usually about mid-May. So I think you're in dangerous waters right now. So we'll see what happens. All right, guys, let us move on. A lot of time gone here. Kevin Durant. Now, this is before the All-Star weekend took place. He had these comments to say, because a lot of people are pretty much, in all honesty, we got to call a thing a thing. They're putting the onus on the old heads as far as the lackluster effort goes. But Kevin Durant was saying, hey, y'all barking up the wrong tree when it comes to that. So I'm going to play for you what Kevin Durant had to say in that regard. Uh, did I put that on my? Oh, by the way, guys, I do have a channel on Instagram, All Things Basketball with GD. I have a page there that you all can check out. In fact, it's called the All Things Basketball with GD discussion room. I put a lot of topics there that folks can uh you know opine on, if you will. So I think I'm gonna have to search and find that. Kevin Durant and Luka Doncic. So let me see if I can find those comments. Yeah. Here it is. Here it is, guys. There you go. You should ask the Europeans if the world team if they won't compete. I mean, because we look at Luka Doncic and Nikola Jokic now. Let's go back and look at what they do in the All-Star game. Is that competition? So we had to question what they've been doing, but we're going to question the old heads and the Americans. But these two dudes out there, Luka and Jokic, they don't care about the elbow. They be laying on the floor, they shoot from half court, but you got to worry about the old heads playing hard. You should. Yeah, so that's Kevin Durant. This was before the weekend even got underway, and somebody was talking. I think the question was asked about, will the old heads be ready to compete? And Kevin Durant was defensive, and he said, "Look, it's not on us. The guys from the world team, that you need a cattle prod to get them moving too." So, but thankfully, you have a guy like Victor Wembanyama who set the tone in that game on both sides. To be honest with you, so sometimes you need a tone setter, and Wemby was that for the for his team. Uh, Unfortunately, he didn't get the results he wanted, but what can you do? So, but here's what I'll say. I think the league is in good hands. There's going to come a day, LeBron James, he's getting close to the end where he'll be retiring soon. Kevin Durant, I say he's a couple of seasons away himself. Steph Curry, maybe a few seasons away as well. So some of these old guys are starting to fade out, and then you're going to have the young guys come up. So, but I think it's in good hands. I think these young guys are willing to compete. They're willing to go after it. So I think, yeah, I think they're willing to give their all. Now, as far as the result of the All-Star game, the Young Guns won it, and they deserve all the credit in the world. But here's what I'll say. I'm not going to go crazy saying that, oh, yes, USA is back. Because, as I said, look at the world team. No Giannis. Giannis would have presented big time problems for that team there. You would have had to put a Chet Holmgren on a Giannis, and I think that's a bit of a mismatch. And then you have SGA, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Now you're telling me a team without the league MVP wouldn't have gave you a better effort than what you saw on Sunday? I beg to differ. So I think this would definitely, I think that could have flipped things, to be honest with you. So, um, yeah, so I'm not going to go crazy and say, oh, yes, USA is back. I'm like, let's see a full complement. If they keep this format, let's see a full complement next season and see how that goes. That's all I say with that. So, but hey, Young Guns came out there and did their thing. So I give them all the props in the world. But as Chris Mad Dog Russo would say, take it easy. Take it easy. So there you go. All right. So that's that bit of business. And then one more piece of sound I wanted to play. And then I'm just going to save the other stuff. I'm just going to do a part two or what, another portion. This is what this is what I was looking for. Ron Harper, as you know, he competed with his sons in the Shooting Stars competition. So they had a press conference with him and talk about his sons, and how he, and basically talk about. Just take a listen. Just take a listen to this. Okay. So, of course, everybody's going crazy. Everyone's going nuts. Uh, One guy says the disrespect towards LeBron is crazy. And another one said Ron Harper took an unnecessary shot at LeBron. Um, yeah, so here's what I'm going to say. And the kids were embarrassed. They put their head down. They were shaking their head. So they like, hey, Dad, listen, we got to still play that guy. So, but here's what I'm going to say. And you see fathers that are, and I did a segment about it maybe a few years ago about these former NBA players, how their sons are entering the league. They're out there, they're competing. You got Carmelo's son at Syracuse, and I want to touch on that too eventually, what's going on with him in Syracuse. But you have him there, you have Dominique Wilkins' son, you have uh, Carlos Boozer, the twins there. So you got a lot of guys. Gilbert Arenas' son as well. But I believe I think he's redshirting because he had an injury. So, but nonetheless, you got a lot of these kids who are, have NBA fathers who played. So, and it seems like they're guiding their career, if you will, but not to the point of manipulation. Now, you heard me talk about Bronny, how he ended up in LA. And again, I'll stand 10 toes down in this. I would have called, if I'm the Jeannie Buss and the LA Lakers, I would have called their bluff and say, oh, if we don't draft him, you're going to let your son go play overseas? Okay, we won't draft him. Let's see how that works. So I would have called their bluff, but hey, Jeannie Buss and Rob Pelinka buckled and bit to the will of LeBron James, if you will. Or if not LeBron James, Rich Paul, his agent. So now the telling thing will be the situation that's going on with his other son, Bryce. Right now, he's not playing at the University of Arizona, who's actually playing well, guys, this season. So he hasn't played the game yet. So the coach there decided, you know what? We'll redshirt him. This way he gets that extra year. This gives him an opportunity to ramp up, get himself ready for next season where he could be a contributor. So here's what I want to keep an eye on, guys. Will Bryce stay true to the program and use that redshirt season to come back next year and play and and get better? Will he do that? Or because I'm sure Rich Paul will be his agent as well, will Rich Paul say, you know what? I understand you want a red shirt and do that extra year with the University of Arizona, but I think you should enter the draft. I'm watching that. Guys. Because if that's the case, then, people are going to, again, they're going to look at LeBron with a crouched eyebrow. So I'm watching that situation to see what's what. But was it a low blow by Ron Harper? Yeah, it was low. But was it a unwarranted shot? I don't know if I can say it wasn't. So, we'll let time tell. But if we see Bryce enter this next draft, the 2026 draft, and try and wrangle things so that he can become a Laker, I'm keeping an eye out on that. I don't rule it out, guys. Although, it seems like the bloom is off the rose between LeBron and the Lakers as is, but we'll see. All right, I'm going to cut it off there. The rest I'll do in a part 2. So thank you for listening. As always, all things basketball with GD.com is the website. There you find my clips, full episodes, my YouTube page. I have that running, guys. Also, donate. That's on my website, guys. PayPal, buy me a coffee, Spotify, donate. In the scroll, you always find my Cash App, $GD. That's Sports Dude. Email the show, guys. All things basketball GD at outlook.com. You can write, give ideas. I'll even read it on there. You know how I do. So, but yeah. And then also podcast platforms. I'm on all of them. 5-star reviews, guys. 5-star reviews. Like the videos wherever you see them. Also, guys, as far as social media, TikTok, Instagram, some Facebook, some Blue Sky. And that's about it. All right, guys. Next time you hear from me, I'll talk about Chris Paul retiring. Then I wanted to talk about a few other things in terms of the NBA. What Giannis had to say, he sat down with Malika Andrews. I want to talk about that. And then also, Naismith Hall of Fame finalist for the class of 2026. I want to hit that and talk about that as well. So thank you for listening. As always, guys, we'll talk soon. Take care.